T'entends quelque chose? Parfait. Bonjour, bonjour à tous
Hi everyone,
et à toutes. Je m'appelle Mélanie Lemaire, je suis la
I'm Mélanie
directrice du
Lemaire,
programme ici même au Forum des Images.
the
Et
Deputy
je vous
Director
souhaite la
of Programming at
bienvenue
the Forum des
à tous
Images,
ceux
and
qui
I'd
êtes ici
like
dans cette
to
belle salle
welcome
croissante
you
du Forum des
all
Images.
in this
À vous, je ne sais pas si le
beautiful
streaming a
room
commencé, mais à vous aussi
300.
qui êtes à
I'm not
distance.
sure if the
Merci beaucoup
stream
de
is
suivre
live,
cette
but
conférence
thank
de
you very much
création
for watching
directe.
from afar.
Juste un petit mot sur le Forum des Images
Just a
qui
few words
depuis un
about
an
the
accueille
Forum des
tous
Images,
les films
which
de la
has
quinzaine.
been screening all of the
Pour un
films
grand
of the
public
Directors
au
Fortnight
mois
for
de
the last
juin
20
jusqu'à
years in
Cannes.
June
Et cette année ne fera pas
after the
exception. Nous
festival,
montrons tous les
and
films de
this
la
year once
quinzaine,
again will
tous, sans
have
exception, les courts,
every
les
single
longs,
film,
répertoire,
short,
disque, tout ce qu'on
long,
a envie de voir. Donc voilà, ce sera du 10 au 22 juin.
from
Je vous
the,
encourage à venir, il y aura
the
des équipes de films,
10th to
etc.
the
Et sans
22nd of
plus
June.
tarder, je vais
And
accueillir
the
Steve
teams will
Achipo,
be in
qui est le
attendance. And I'd
vice-président
like to
de la SRF.
welcome Steve Achipo, the co-president of the Society of French Filmmakers. Hi, everyone. I have a few announcements, but let me start with a foreword. In a world where opinions are polarizing, debates are fading in favor of certainties, making a film has become more than ever an act of resistance and commitment. It means resisting the standardization of narratives, resisting the standardization of imaginations, and committing to bringing creative freedom to life, making singular, multiple, sometimes dissonant, and precious voices heard. But this freedom goes hand in hand with a responsibility. The responsibility we as filmmakers have to craft the stories with rigor, integrity, and concern for the world around us. In this sense, we salute the remarkable work carried out by the National Assembly's Commission into Violence in the Film Industry. We have a new event in June here in the cinema, the SRF Days, with an unprecedented cycle of discussions questioning the ethics and political dimensions of filmmaking. This year, our society is honored to award the Carrosse d'Or, in partnership with Canal+, to Todd Haynes, gigantic filmmaker who, film after film, continues to challenge norms and push boundaries. The program for Wednesday, May 14, will be dedicated to him, and there'll be a screening of one of his films and a fascinating masterclass. And finally, our society is delighted to announce the creation of a new award in partnership with Alpine, which will be presented at the closing of the fortnight on May 22nd. This prize will recognize the inventiveness of young filmmakers, and this year we will have the honor to recognize the audacity of director Thomas Caillet. A more detailed program will be announced very soon. We would like to congratulate Julien Rege and Christophe Leparc and the whole team for their renewed confidence in the works of the artists. May this edition be a space of freedom, dialogue, and vibrant cinema. Thank you. So I'd like to invite Julien Rege to the scene. Thank you, Steve. Hi, everyone. I'm extremely happy to see you again today to announce the 57th edition of the Directors Fortnight. And I'd like to thank the French Filmmakers Society for their trust. I'd like to thank our partner, the Forum des Images, for hosting this press conference and be our prime partner for the when we'll be screening all the films in June. You'll see all the logos of our sponsors, and thanks to them, our selection exists. but special thanks to the CNC, France Télévisions, BNP Paribas, the Sud region, the Île-de-France region, and the Banque Palatine. I would also like to give a warm thanks to the team of the Fortnight. Thanks to them, this event is enabled at the festival and throughout the year. I'd also like to thank Harmonie Corinne, who accepted to craft the poster of the 2025 edition with a very bold and free spirit. And I would also like to thank for their work, their passion, and their investment from my selection committee. Over the last few months, they've watched all the films that I'll mention, and so I'd like to thank them for their profound commitment. Our consultants, who are more than that because they've been part of this race. Alex de Doc de Witt, Cynthia Witt, Min Junko, Amélie Carin-Davé, Lucie Detrain, and Jordan Kronk. I'd like to thank them. And the members of the selection committee, Caroline Malville, Gabriela Trujillo, Émilie Poirier, Alvaro Arroba, Hervé Aubron, and Mouyan Wang, who was the head of production with me. And I'd like to thank their dedication over the last few months. Thanks for pairing with me and putting all your energy to coordinating this selection. So this year, the number of films we got is still on the rise because our committee watched 1,605 features and 2,534 shorts. It was quite a challenge because more than half of the films got to us after March 15. So the selection process was extremely intense over the last 3 weeks. And as of yesterday, we were still watching films. So the selection that you're about to discover is extremely fresh. And we've had last-minute confirmation. Despite all the struggles that filmmakers must face, we can be very happy when we see the full landscape of cinema, despite censorship in countries at war or countries where access to funding is extremely complex. Once again, cinema is ahead of its time, ahead of society, and the best of cinema still questions rather than judge, still looks at the world with an inquisitive gaze rather than judging. So the strength of the world creation is present, and I hope that this election will be the showcase of that. So before announcing this election, I would like to present some of the features of the Fortnight along the festival. So I'm very happy to announce that we are continuing the public choice along with our partner, the Chantal Ackerman Foundation. I'd like to thank Sylviane Ackerman and Céline Boez for their support, which was renewed this year, and this Audience Choice Award under the guidance of Chantal Ackerman gives a sense of the boldness and the independence that this public choice is trying to award. So last year, A Universal Language by Matthew Rankin won the prize. The audience is very diverse at the Fortnight because our screenings are open to everyone, whether you have an accreditation or not. And we're very happy about Matthew Rankin's film's success because it was screened in many countries and was Canada's pick for the best international picture at the Oscars. Another segment of the Fortnight is the filmmaker Factory, in partnership with our producer friend Dominique Velinsky. It's a program of filmmakers from around the world. Each year we have a partner country, and this year it's the northeastern Brazil. 8 young filmmakers, 4 Brazilian filmmakers, and 4 international filmmakers are selected, and then we build tandems, 4 tandems, and they will co-write and co-direct a 20-minute short film in the partnering country, and then the 4 films will be screened on the opening day of next year's Fortnight. This year is the year of Brazil, so the Factory is also part of this celebration. Starting in June, as you've heard, we will have films from the Fortnight in theaters and abroad as soon as June 11 in our 30 partners around France. And I'd like to thank our partnering cinemas. The films from the selections will be screened in Paris and elsewhere around France. And in the fall, once again, the selection will travel around the world in countries such as the US, in New York and LA, and in Japan, in Tokyo. We also have a feature to bring culture to people that can be far from it. We call this aspect the Fortnight in Action. We screen films from the Fortnight in movie theaters to work with many local nonprofits and share cinema with those who are far from cultural events. But the Fortnight in Action is also workshops, writing workshops, filmmaking workshops, photography workshops, and the works will also be exhibited at the beginning of the festival. Finally, this year we are launching a collection of books in partnership with the publishing house Façonnage. It's called the Fortnight's Notebook. The idea was to showcase the filmmakers' words, which seems very relevant in today's world. We wanted to give them a space to talk about their films, since Cannes is where they will screen their films for the first time. But along with those words, there's also some production documents. So we almost worked as archivists to gather storyboards, mood boards, production photos, pages from the scripts, to give a sense of what it looks like to make a film and to extend the work beyond the festival. So we will be selling those books at the Fortnight shop during the festival, and then in September you will be able to buy those books in bookshops. The book is published both in French and English, and it also features the exclusive interview with our guest of honor from the 2023 edition, Quentin Tarantino. Now, let's dive into the most awaited part of the conference, the selection. Let's start with the short films. We've seen many shorts, as I said. I'd like to remind you that short films are welcomed at the festival from 0 to 59 minutes, whether they're fictions, docs, animations, experimental films. All genres are welcome. And so, with the over 2,500 films that we received, we designed 2 programs, 5 films each. So it was a very difficult skimming process. But those 2 programs, I think, reflect with a lot of humor and fantasy the best of contemporary creation in very young cinema. So here's the list, and the 2 programs will be screened in the main room of the Théâtre Croisette, along with the feature films. Plus 10K by Gala Hernandez Lopez, which is a French-Spanish documentary. Loins, fiction by Belgian filmmaker Dorian Jaspers. Nervous Energy, a New York comedy by the Chinese-American-Canadian filmmaker Eve Liu. An animation film, Bread Will Walk, by Canadian filmmaker Alex Boya. An Haitian film, Cœur Bleu, Blue Heart, by Samuel Suffren. An animation film as a tribute to Pina Bausch, The Death of the Fish, by Eva Luce-Barognon. The very first short for Australian filmmaker Louis van der Geer, The Body. Louis comes from the theater world. Before the Sea Forgets, by Vietnamese filmmaker Ngoc Dule. Karmash by Alim Bukhari, Pakistani survival. And finally, to conclude this selection, New Zealander film When the Geese Flew by Arthur Gay. So those are the 10 films that are part of our short film selection. And now, 18 features in our selection. It's a selection with many discoveries because we have 8 first features in the selection. And by the way, the quality of the films was extremely high this year. And so I'd like to commend all the filmmakers that have been screened at the Fortnight before, who are in different parts of the Cannes Film Festival today. So we have 18 films, very diverse. And I'm about to announce the selection, but I would also like to commend all the filmmakers whose films we really liked but couldn't add to our list. They were part of our short lists until the very end, until this weekend, even yesterday. And it's impossible to craft a list of 18 films out of over 1,000 films. but I'd like to thank everyone who trusted us with their films. We're close to the finishing line, and I really wish that they'll have the best possible premieres, either in Cannes or elsewhere.
Alors le film, non, la 57e édition de la
The
quinzaine
57th edition of the Fortnight will open
absolument magnifique,
with a
porté
magnificent
par,
film
deux grands cinéastes français.
made by two
Et le film,
important French
je pense
filmmakers.
aussi
And I think the success of the
à
film
l'incroyable
is
synergie entre ces deux
the
auteurs,
product of
la
the
vaillante productrice
incredible
qui l'a porté.
synergy of these two filmmakers. Enzo,
Produit
a film by Laurent Contet, directed by Romain Campillo, produced by Marie-Ange Luciani.
magnifique récit d'adolescence,
It's a
justement,
beautiful
un personnage
portrait of a young
complètement
teenager.
insaisissable. C'est un film qui nous a
It's a
bouleversés.
film that
Et
moved
je
us
pense
a
que,
lot,
voilà, il n'y avait
and
pas d'autre place pour lui que de le présenter en ouverture
we had
de
to
cette
screen it
quinzaine.
as
Et on en
the
est
opening
extrêmement
film,
fiers.
and we're extremely proud of that.
Premier film belge, La
The
danse des renards
first
de
Belgian
Valérie
film,
Carnoy,
The
avec
Fox's
dans les rôles
Round,
principaux
by
Samuel
Valérie
Kircher,
Carnoy, with Samuel
Faisal
Kircher,
Anaflous et
Faisal
Jean-Baptiste
Anaflous,
Durand.
and Jean-Baptiste Durand.
Alors cette fois-ci, il s'est plongé dans le. Enfin, on suit en fait c'est une belle histoire d'amitié
It's
qui est mise à
a great
l'épreuve
friendship story
de différents événements dans l'univers de la
in the face of many
dans un
different
univers
events
viril qui va évidemment entrer en
set in the world of boxing, in a very
un film d'animation
manly atmosphere.
canadien signé par Félix Dufour-Lapeyrière.
A Canadian animation film, Death Does Not Exist, by Félix Dufour-Lapeyrière.
Comme on en a rarement vu,
It's
qui fait
animation
penser à un
unlike
roman graphique
anything we've seen before. It
avec
looks
une
more like a
direction
graphic
artistique,
novel
absolument,
with
fabuleuse. Le film a été fait,
a
je crois, de manière
magnificent
assez
artistic
artisanale.
direction.
Ça se
The
voit pas
film
du tout
was
sur
made in a
l'écran,
very
tellement les choix esthétiques,
handmade
la
way.
précision, du
It's
film
very
sont
precise,
sont absolument
very
extraordinaires.
accurate, and all the details are absolutely amazing. It's Felix's third film, and we're very happy to screen this one.
Premier film français de la réalisatrice Louise
A
Aymon,
first French feature by
L'Angoutie,
Louise
avec dans
Aymon,
le rôle titre
The Girl in
Galatea
the
Bellucci.
Snow, with Galatea Bellucci.
Film complètement mystérieux,
A very
sensuel,
mysterious and sensual film
dans un petit village reculé de montagne.
set
à la
in a
fin du
remote
19e
town
siècle,
in the mountains
c'est un film
at the end of the
froid,
19th
qui
century.
donnait son atmosphère,
Seems very
mais
cold on paper,
intensément,
but
sensuel.
intensely sensual.
Direction le Japon
Now let's head to
avec le
Japan
nouveau film
with
d'un cinéaste
the new film from
à qui l'on doit il y a
a
quelques
filmmaker
années, déjà une dizaine d'années, le
who
remake
about
d'impitoyable
10
de Clint
years ago made a
C'est
remake of
Lee
Unforgiven,
qui signe Kokuo,
Lee Sang-hil, with
une
Kokuho, an
d'un
adaptation
roman,
of
une espèce de best-seller
a
japonais
Japanese
signé Shushi Yoshida,
novel by
avec
Shushi
dans le rôle
Yoshida,
titre, l'acteur japonais Ryo Yoshizawa.
with Ryo Yoshizawa as
Très heureux
the
d'avoir ce film en
lead.
sélection parce
We're
que
very happy to
c'est-
screen this
déjà,
film
c'est
as part of our selection
la
because
représentation du cinéma classique au sein de la sélection.
it's really
C'est une
the
grande
representation
fresque
of
de
traditional
presque
cinema
3
as part of our
heures
selection.
dans
It's
son
a
œuvre
3-hour
siècle,
epic
dans l'univers
that
du
spans over
kabuki.
half a century
On est
in the
vraiment
world of
dans
kabuki
une
theater.
espèce de cinéma classique japonais.
It's
On suit l'itinéraire de deux frères
very
de
classic Japanese cinema,
sur près d'un demi-siècle.
and we follow these two brothers over 50 years. I won't say more because you will get to discover this gorgeous melodrama in a few weeks.
Premier film américain.
First American
signé
film
par Lloyd Lee
by
Choi.
Lloyd Lee Choi.
Ça s'appelle Lucky Lou.
It's
Alors,
Lucky
ce
Lou.
film parle de l'immigration
This film is
chinoise
about
à
Chinese
New York,
immigration in
aux
New
États-Unis,
York,
et là, en particulièrement à New York.
in the US in general,
On
and
suit
more
l'itinéraire
specifically in
d'un
New York.
jeune livreur à
It's
domicile,
about a young
interprété
food
par
delivery
l'immense
driver
acteur taïwanais Chang Chen,
portrayed by
que
Chang
vous
Chen,
avoir évidemment
this
découvert
tremendous
il y a
Taiwanese
quelques années
actor
dans les films de Wong Kar-wai ou de Wu
who you've
Shaoxian.
seen in Hu Xiaoxian's and Wong Kar-wai's
Voilà,
films,
c'est un New York
among
comme
many
on voit
others.
rarement, puisque
It's a side of New York we rarely get to see. The film is mostly set in Chinatown, and it's a great social drama carried by tremendous actors.
Un documentaire ukrainien au sein de la
Ukrainian
sélection,
documentary
signé par un trio de
by
réalisateurs et
3
réalisatrices,
filmmakers,
Yelizaveta
Yelizaveta
Smith,
Smith,
Alina Gorlova,
Alina
et
Korlova,
Simon
and
Mozgoï,
Simon Mozgoï.
tous trois ukrainiens.
They're all from Ukraine.
Et non seulement essentiel
This film feels
par son
very
sujet,
much
mais
essential
surtout, il ramène
because
des
of its
images
topic, but it also
inédites et comme
brings
on
to
n'en voit
us
pas, évidemment, dans les
unseen
médias,
images,
de,
unlike anything we can see in the media,
villages
from
qui sont sous
villages
bombardement,
under
qui
attack.
nous montrent les habitants
We
ukrainiens
see
contraints de
Ukrainian
vivre,
villagers
s'habituer à l'état de guerre,
that are struggling to
sans
face the war.
avec quand même beaucoup de
The film has a very
compassion
unbiased
pour,
look and
cette
compassionate
population agressée.
gaze
Mais voilà, en tout cas, un documentaire
on
sur l'Ukraine,
this
je pense comme
on
on en a vu
the
très peu
topic,
jusqu'à présent.
and it's a film unlike any portrayal of war that we've seen so far.
On part dans le cinéma de genre avec
Now let's
un
dive
autre premier
into
film, cette fois-ci
genre
chinois,
films
signé
with
par
another
Zhou
first
Jinghao.
film by
Girl
Zhou
on Edge.
Jinghao, Girl on
C'est un
Edge.
thriller psychologique
It's a
dans
psychological
le milieu du
thriller
patinage artistique sur fond de rivalité
set
féminine.
in
Incroyablement maîtrisé pour un
the
premier
world
long-métrage.
of an ice rink
Un film chinois
and female
qui
rivalry.
dénote
Extremely
le
masterful.
cinéma chinois
It's
qu'on a
a
l'habitude de voir,
Chinese film that stands out from most of what we've been used to seeing in festivals.
Très heureux de retrouver, après, je crois, 20 ans, Anthony Cordier à la quinzaine.
After 20 years,
qui est
we're
venu
happy
présenter
to
deux
have
fois dans 2005,
Anthony
si je ne
Cordier
m'abuse.
back at
Il
the
revient avec
Fortnight.
une comédie absolument
He
hilarante,
was part of the
intitulée
festival in
Classe moyenne,
2005 with
avec
Cold
un
Showers, and
acteur
now he's back with
très forme.
Middle Class,
Je cite Laurent
with
Lafitte, Élodie
Laurent
Bouchez,
Lafitte, Elodie Bouchez, Ramzi Bedia, Laure Calamy, Noé Habitat,
Sami Outalbali,
Sami
dans
Outalbali,
une comédie très
in
satirique sur le rapport de
a
classe.
highly satirical comedy about class conflict.
Immense fierté d'accueillir pour la
We're
première fois au Festival
very
de Cannes
proud
un très grand
to
cinéaste
show
allemand, Christian Petzold,
the work
avec
of
son
Christian
nouveau film
Petzold for the
Miroir
first
numéro
time
3,
in Cannes.
pour lequel il
Mirrors number
retrouve
3.
pour la quatrième fois,
I think it's
la
his
très
fourth
jolie
collaboration
Paula Bear.
with the great actress
C'est une
Paula
espèce
Bear.
de mélodrame
It's
mystérieux,
Very mysterious melodrama
mais avec toujours la très grande mise en scène,
with a great sense of directing, always very precise and
de
elegant.
Christian Petzold.
I think that's really the trademark of cinema.
Un autre premier film français
Another first
pour lequel
feature
Marseille
from
va débarquer
France.
à Cannes, Les filles
Marseille
désirs de Prince
travels to
Yakar,
Cannes.
dans
The
lequel,
Girls We Want
on va
by Prince
retrouver
Yakar.
une bande d'acteurs non professionnels, tous plus
A
géniaux
group
les uns
of
que les autres,
non-professional actors.
débordant
Everyone in the
d'énergie,
team is
de
great.
vitalité, et
So
surtout
much
d'authenticité,
energy,
sur
vividness,
voilà, des
authenticity
moniteurs de centre aéré qui,
about
au
recreational
cœur
center
de leur
supervisors.
se pose évidemment la question du désir
And
et du rapport homme-femme. Donc, un
through
film
their
très
discussion, we
contemporain.
hear about
On est
their
très
desires
heureux
and
d'accueillir
men-women relationships.
ce premier essai de
We're
cette jeune réalisatrice.
very glad to have this first film from this very young filmmaker.
Cette année, vous aurez droit à une séance spéciale film de genre avec
It will be
un film d'horreur et de,
a
espèce de
horror
film d'horreur et
film,
de survival en pleine mer.
a
Avec le
survival
nouveau film
at
de
sea
l'Australien Sean Byrne.
with a new film by
Qui signe
Australian
Dangerous
filmmaker Sean
Animals.
Byrne.
Donc, Sean Byrne,
Dangerous
qui doit
Animals.
deux films
Sean Byrne has made
de genre
two
assez remarqués qui s'appellent
acclaimed
The Devil's
films,
Candy et
The
The
Devil's
Loved Ones.
Candy and The Loved
Cette
Ones.
fois-ci, donc comme je disais, c'est une espèce
This time,
de survival
it's
avec
a
des jeunes
survival
surfeurs,
with young surfers, a serial
des
killer,
requins.
sharks.
Donc ça va saigner sur la croisette.
So it'll be a bloody one.
Un film nous a fait énormément de bien quand on l'a découvert, puisqu'on ne
we were very happy to see this film by Canadian filmmaker Anne Aymon. She directed a comedy entitled Peak Everything, Amour Apocalypse in French. It's an absurd, goofy comedy with a bit of romance in which a dog pound supervisor will fall in love with the customer service rep of light therapy, and it's set against the backdrop of an apocalypse, and it was a very joyful surprise. We're also very happy to have discovered this gem from Iraq. It's a country we don't get to see much of. It's a first film by Hassan Hadi, The President's Cake. The film is set in the 90s under the Hussein regime. It's a fairy tale in which children are the heroes, and those children bring to mind characters from Kiarostami. There's a tenderness, simplicity, and emotion in the path of these young characters. And in the background, we see the misery in which the country was in the 90s.
Alors, il nous avait habitués plutôt à ces comédies, aussi bien en tant qu'acteur que réalisateur.
Both as actor and director, we were used to his comedies, but Thomas N'Gijol will surprise us with The Untamables, which is set in Cameroon. It's an adaptation of Moscovy Boucault's documentary A Crime in Abidjan, but this time it's set in Yaoundé. It's a police investigation story. Thomas N'Gijol also plays the lead, the detective, and it's an unprecedented study of the Yaoundé story. Thomas N'Gijol is extraordinary both as filmmaker and actor, and the rest of his cast is very much on point. And it was great to see this film from Cameroon that was very much unexpected.
Un premier film signé par un jeune cinéaste de 26 ans.
The first film by a very young filmmaker, 26-year-old,
Brand New Landscape.
Brand New Landscape, a young miracle coming from Yunga Tensuka, which is about family gatherings a few years after the mother's passing. Such an elegant directing style and an interesting depiction of neighborhoods across Tokyo. And Tensuka has a very interesting way of depicting family bonds, which brings to mind the emotions that we can get from the films of Ozu. 2 years after so we're very happy to have Julia Kowalski back at the Fortnight. She screened another film 2 years ago at the festival and won the Jean Vigo Award. And this one, it's a movie set in the agricultural world with Maria Vrobel and Roxane Mesquida. May well be done. It's a film that's half Polish, half French. And finally, to conclude this 18-film selection, the closing film will be a first feature from the US, Sorry Baby, by Eva Victor, who also stars as the lead. The film was acclaimed at Sundance. It's a very surprising first feature, masterful. After a tragic event, a young woman needs to build her life piece by piece. And we wanted to finish the selection with this very strong film because it very much contributes to a lot of contemporary debates. So this is our 18 film selection, and once again, the committee and myself are extremely proud of it. Thank you very much for your attention, and we're extremely eager to have you see these films. We can't wait to host all these teams and these filmmakers that I named. All filmmakers are also invited at the Fortnight in its famous beach and in our screening rooms. Thank you for listening, and I'm happy to answer any question.